People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, I've had this guy on the books, boy, I think 2 months now, 3 months.
Yeah.
He contacted me and said he was a listener of the podcast and really wanted to get on and talk about his passion. And since it's magic, I said, okay.
Of course.
Today's guest is a professional magician and inventor with over 38 years performing professionally as his full-time job under his belt. He collects and specializes in mechanical and electronic magic, and even enjoys revamping classics and adding hidden electronics in the scenes, behind the scenes, to help accomplish the magic. So everybody, let's dig into it. It's Chuck Caputo.
Caputo, yes.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, okay, all right. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, dude, this is going to be fun. I like this. I got to dig into it right from the beginning, though, man. How'd you get started in magic? I know you didn't get started with electronics right off the bat. Well, how'd you get started?
No, you know what? I actually, if you go back, if you rewind to the very beginning, I mean, it goes back to like 1969 when I was a 5-year-old kid. And you know what? I actually had the old Johnson Smith catalog, and I remember I purchased a little vase, the marble vase, the color changing handkerchief, and I think the whole order came to a whopping $1.59. And
Oh, wow.
back in those days, that was a lot of money. I saved up my allowance and I sent for that, and that's really got me started. And then I started watching television. I remember way back in the early 70s with Bill Bixby, the Magician series was on, so that was fascinating. And then I had a Pittsburgh magician come to my school. I'm here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've actually been here my whole life. There was an old-time magician who I actually became friends with years later. His name was Harry Allbacker. He traveled the fair circuit throughout the whole country, more or less. I mean, the guy was amazing. But he came to my school when I was in like 5th grade, and so it was fantastic. And then I went to college for business, but I always had a passion for magic. So then around 1985, that was when I kind of decided I didn't want to pursue the college degree. So I kind of put an ad in local Yellow Pages and a few other things, and it just took off. And so around 1985, 1986 was, like pretty much when I seriously got into it. And I'll tell you the thing that's pretty amazing was in 1986, maybe after 1 year into magic, I was fortunate enough to work on the same bill with the great Del Rey.
Wow.
And at that time, I had no idea who he was. So I had performed my show, and I'm packing up backstage, and my dad was with me that night. And he said, "Come on down and see this guy. He's unbelievable." So I said to myself, "Well, if my dad thinks he's that great, well then he must be." So I went down there and watched him, and I was absolutely amazed. I think that night was when it triggered the what you could do with electronic magic, because he was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, well,
And so, yeah, so we even talked, he was a very nice man. I mean, like, he even showed me a lot of his close-up effects. And strangely enough, Wes, we became friends later on. We kept in touch via the phone, probably for the next 25 years.
That's awesome.
Well, as we're recording this, I'm all packing up, getting ready to go to the Magicians Alliance of Eastern States. It's in Cherry Hill, Pennsylvania. How far away is that from you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. We'd have to Google it. But I mean, like, Pennsylvania's a pretty big state. We're in Western Pennsylvania.
This is right on the border of Jersey, Pennsylvania. But
Oh, okay.
that's how I heard about Del Rey. I mean, all the big magicians there. I mean, just talk about Del Rey with reverence. I mean,
my goodness,
yeah.
the man was phenomenal. You know what? And people don't seem to realize, Wes, that he was just as amazing with sleight of hand. I mean, the man was he was probably the best overall magician that I've ever met. And that's how I got my start with sleight of hand. I actually specialized with very, very, very difficult sleight of hand. But then I got into the mechanical magic and so forth. And so I he was a Dutch magician. That he was from Holland, and he built, his electronic magic as well as the liquid magic. Now, his liquid magic, guys, that came along first. That was built in the 1960s, and his liquid magic is fantastic as well. It's very visual. He has a lot of the milk trays, like flat trays where you put the glasses, the see-through drinking glasses. There's like 2 glasses on each tray generally, and you get a milk pitcher, and you pour the milk into one glass, but then the other one fills up. And thanks to a specialized gimmick that he invented, at this point you could pick that glass up and it's not going to leak. And at that point, what you could do is switch glasses around, and then the full one will visibly deplete as the other one fills back up, and that glass can be picked up as well. It was just an amazing. It was a very visual effect.
Wow.
He built a lot of bottles, a lot of different bottles. There's color-changing liquids inside. A long neck bottle where the neck would extend if you can't reach your glass. It was a sight gag where you pull the neck out and you pour your drink. You had the crazy bottle where the little jigger glass would fill up by itself when it was placed on the bottom part of the bottle. The one effect, probably the best liquid effect that I think he invented anyway, which is on a few of my videos, is the stack of rings. And what this was basically, I believe, 5 clear rings, probably about maybe 3 inches in diameter. I'm like, these are just clear plexiglass rings, and you stack them on top of each other, and when you just pass your hand over it, dark grape wine will visibly fill up in the glass. It'll actually fill up from the bottom up. There's like no explanation for it. It is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
But that's called the stack of rings glasses. Throughout the years, I've actually performed this, and you can hear the oohs or the ahs from the audience.
That's amazing. So I'd never liked liquid magic. I've always been a student of magic, and I've seen magicians literally just get up at a convention and go out to the bar and have a drink when somebody's doing silk magic or dove magic when they're not interested in it. But I try to learn everything I can, and it's really helped me with my sponsorship. I had VitHit as a sponsor for 5 years, and that was owned by Pepsi. So I had to do liquid magic, and I had no interest in doing liquid magic because you have to now I'm doing 400 shows a year. Now I got to carry liquid with me. Now I got to clean out the containers between every show. And you got spills and you got this. But knowing about Anverdi, man, that would have helped some pretty cool. I created some pretty cool things with liquid magic for VitHit, but that glass of rings and all that stuff sound pretty darn cool too. I don't know it all. I'll never learn it all, but I love learning about all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's strange about it, Wes, is most magicians tend to shy away from liquid magic because they're very, they're very messy by their nature. You know what I mean? And so it can be a real pain in the butt, which I'm sure you know, especially if you're using, like color changes and things of that nature. And then, like you said, when you have to clean the props out and everything, it's a lot of extra work. But I think it's well worth it because you know what, it is very, very pretty to see. The different types of effects. Now, there's other people that have, that have came up with different of the liquid magic. It's not just Anverdi. Supreme has come up with different effects as well, throughout the years. But I think Anverdi's I know, it was Anverdi that came up with this first. And so basically, the receiver on this thing was all hand-wound coils. I mean, this is...
Wow.
This predates the stuff we have nowadays with the key fobs and everything that are encoded. I mean, these are hand-wound coils, and it gets out of tune a lot. There's little pots inside there, potentiometers. So, see, that's the thing about the Anverdi stuff. What a lot of people don't seem to realize, if you do own Anverdi stuff, you have to know how to maintain it. You know what I mean? The terminals need constantly sanded to make sure that it's a good contact. Things get out of tune a lot, and everything. But but getting back to the die, the receiver was made a couple different ways. It was basically red LEDs, and so whatever digit that is facing up, it would send a signal to the receiver, which was on your person, and you could glance at it where you're covering your eyes. You could have it in your breast pocket or even in your sleeve, for that matter. And the corresponding LED would light up, in the proper slot. So that's how you would know if it's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 was blank, so it didn't throw a signal.
Right.
Okay. Now throughout the years, I got a couple, wise guys that didn't put the die in the box. Okay, so that's an option too. If it doesn't light up, it's either number 6 or it's a wise guy that didn't put the die in the box.
No, I have a die trick upstairs in my magic room, and you can tell what's number up, what number's down. It's not electronic; it's a different method, but know immediately when they don't put the die in the box for that trick. I can't think of the name of it. Die cipher.
Now, the way Anverdi made it, like I said, which is hands-free, so you don't have to touch anything. So that's a fantastic effect, and his talking skull is one of my absolutely favorite effects. I mean, this is it's a close-up effect. I mean, the skull is probably maybe 2 inches. It's it's fairly small, and the back of the head is actually mounted on a clear plexiglass backboard, and he's actually suspended from the base. Like there's a black plexiglass base. He's suspended from it, probably about 3/4 of an inch, and so like the skull can actually clack his jaw. And it's like great for card for card revelations and so forth. And again, you're operating it via a hidden transmitter, and so basically when you tap the button, it'll send a signal to the box, and there's a coil. Okay, there's an electromagnet that's underneath his jaw. In his jaw is a powerful magnet that's embedded. Okay, so once the coil gets energized, it's going to pull down the jaw because the jaw is hanging from a weak spring. And so I hooked up mine with a toe switch, so that way my hands are absolutely free. But I've used this skull now for over 35 years, and it's still going strong. I've performed it at trade shows and close-up venues and so forth. And it's an amazing effect, man.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, we now have listeners to this podcast in 33 different countries, and not all of them are full-time magicians. There's hobbyists, there's laymen that listen, and they're the ones getting a real education now that they know electronic magic exists. But this guy came up with this stuff. This guy came up with this stuff in the, you said, 50s, 60s, 70s?
Yeah, I mean, he was ahead of his time. He was a pioneer in microelectronic magic, definitely. And the one thing I do want to stress to all your listeners, like when you do come up with an electronic effect, or if you do happen to purchase electronic effect, of course you don't broadcast, hey, look at this electronic effect. It's actually camouflaged to help, how should I say, it makes the effect greater. What I mean? Like you have the receiver hidden in a jumbo pack of cards with a hidden wheel or something, so then the selected card would rise or something, but don't make the mistake of actually saying, hey, look at this electronic marble, because that's going to give the game away.
Well, I mean, not only that, they don't have to say it, but I've actually seen people overtly touch their pants pocket to set off something. And
right, exactly.
And it's they don't have any friends that watch them that tell them, hello, that is so obvious. It is very obvious. Oh my gosh. I mean, 6 inches away from their pants pocket and then touch their pants pocket, and then they go 6 inches away and hover and wait till the next time. It's awful.
Yeah, that would be a no-no. You know what? It's always best if you can have an offstage assistant. If it's modern electronics, it should pick up 100
Yep.
And it doesn't make a lot of sense. So please be careful. Don't give the game away. You know, if you're going to do it right.
So here's my thing. I don't want to give away too much to laymen, but there are companies nowadays that sell, you know, a simple revelation for $300, and it's, you know, I'm worried about the batteries dying. I'm worried about, you know, hey, I changed the batteries and I tested it, but one of the batteries is bad. Murphy's Law, I got a show to do. I don't want to have backups for electronic stuff. It's just easier for me to do manual. It's easy for me to make excuses also, Chuck, of not paying $300 for one simple reveal. But some of it's beautiful. I have friends that collect it, and it's, you know, thousands of dollars for, you know, 3 tricks. But have you had anything Murphy Law moment happen with your electronic stuff?
Yeah, the best thing I could tell you, okay, is to have some type of an out, okay? Keep your wording ambiguous, okay? Now, what I mean by this, if you have a person select a playing card from a regular pack of cards, okay, now that card is forced, and if you gesture over toward your jumbo rising cards, you know, don't say, please rise or something, just in case it doesn't rise. Just like glance at the jumbo pack of cards, and then so once the button is secretly pushed, whether it's your offstage assistant, or if it's your toe switch or whatever, I mean, you know what, it should rise. You know, like another thing I would tell you is always change your batteries. Do not use rechargeable batteries; they do not hold the right charge. You know, if you've seen what I spent on batteries per year, it is phenomenal. I spent almost $1,000 a year on batteries. You know, always stick to the name brand ones. I don't know if I can mention them or not, but the big name brand ones. Change them every single act, okay, every show. I mean, I've seen people try and get 10 performances out of batteries, and then it just doesn't work after a while. I mean, don't do it. You know what I mean? Always have a battery tester, check your voltage. But if you change them all the time, you know, and if you do the proper maintenance, there shouldn't be a problem. But like I said, do not say, would you please ride, because if it doesn't, it makes a total fool of you. Okay, just like gesture toward the jumbo cards, and if nothing happens, okay, then have a duplicate of the card that you force on the bottom of your top hat, and you could say, oh, here it goes. At least it's something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, keep your wording ambiguous. Think about it, you know, because things can go wrong. I mean, I've had every once in a while, I mean, there's not so much of interference you have to worry about nowadays, but, things do happen. You know, like I said, keep your batteries fresh, you know, and there shouldn't be too much of a problem with the type of electronics that's used nowadays because it's encoded.
I have 2 schools. Well, one's a church and one's a school that I do, and my sound system does not work there. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Talking about interference.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's their alarm system or what, but we've been working the same church now for
I don't know, years and years.
15 years straight, and every year we go there, we have to use their sound system. I hate it, but I'm yeah, my sound system doesn't work here because of your security thing, and it's weird.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, you know, because I've been doing magic professionally, like you said, about 38 years, and every once in a while, my PA system I bring, it will act up. I know exactly what you're saying, you know, and I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, I didn't diagnose exactly what's wrong, but like you said, it's some type of an interference that shouldn't be happening. But I mean, you will eventually run into some kind of a problem. Try to have it out. I mean, you know, watch your wording, you know, and so that should pretty much take care of the problem to a vast degree.
So, as far as your love of Anverdi, do you not only collect it, do you sell your duplicates? Do you belong to a Facebook group of Anverdi? Do you?
Yes, all of the above. You know what? Throughout the years, I've sold off several pieces, or I've bought several pieces, you know, and everything. And yes, I do belong to several different Anverdi groups on Facebook. If you search up on the block Anverdi, there's 2 or 3 of them, and you know what? One I actually started is called Electronic and Mechanical Magic. So that encompasses everything. It's not just Anverdi, you know, because I also love watchwork. I mean, watchwork is very, very dependable. You know what I mean? Just as long as you keep it clean, you know, and if you spray some WD-40 in where the governor is, where it actually, you know, the mechanism and so forth. Watchwork is very reliable. It's slower, than electronic motor, obviously. tell you what, I mean, there's effects that have been built hundreds of years ago and are still working, like the Josephine talking skull, you know.
Right.
That still works perfectly. There's the swan that was built, which is not a magic trick, but I believe there was two of them built, and there's one housed in St. Petersburg, Russia. It's a beautiful swan, and it's all watchwork, and this thing will actually bend its head into what looks like water, but it's rows of tubular glass that rotate and looks like water, and it'll put its beak inside and actually pull out a fish. You know, there's a fish that comes out of his beak, so it kind of looks like he caught it.
Wow.
And I think that thing was built in 1750 or something. I mean,
That's awesome.
So so watchwork is very, very reliable. You know, so I built things with watchwork, and I've also bought things with watchwork as well.
Well, the most famous watchwork was Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, and I've only seen the Baker once, but I do believe that's my favorite.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, he's the father of modern magic. It wasn't for him, magic would not be where it is today. I mean, he brought everything into the stage, you know what I mean? And he dressed up in a tuxedo, he did the formal evening show. It wasn't for him. We would not have magic as it is today. Yeah, he was fantastic. You know what? I kind of look at him as like, like an earlier Del Rey. I mean, he started everything, and then about, but then maybe in about 80 years later, what Del Rey did was use electronics instead of watchwork.
Right.
But Robert Houdin is fantastic, and there's a lot of his effects. I believe John Gahan had restored them, and he did a great job. The trapeze artist Antonio Diablo, that's an amazing piece. If you go on my wife's YouTube, Sherry Caputo, that's Cheri Caputo on YouTube, I built a couple of the damn things. I recreated it. There's the Turk. No, that's not Robert Houdin, excuse me. That's Von Koosen's Turk. But I did recreate that. He was an Austrian inventor, and so I recreated the Turk where he sits at the chess set and he plays chess and so forth. So I did recreate that. I sold that about a year ago, and it's it was a beautiful piece, but I built mine tabletop.
Was it full size?
No, mine was the tabletop size, and it's all hidden motors, hidden relays inside, and
I'm scrolling as fast as I can. Sherry Caputo, and that's Cheri, just to let everybody know if they want to try to find it.
Yeah, because there's a ton of my inventions on there throughout the years. I've built a lot of things, and I collect different things too. It's not just Anverdi, but I'm most fascinated with Anverdi. I mean, I have a lot of Abbott's, P&L, Owen, Thayer, and I like to highlight these things. I like to perform. I like to tell stories.
All right, I just found the tabletop Turk.
Okay, yeah, that was at her kitchen table. My wife filmed that, and
wow.
I kind of combine different things. The hand moves, and everything. He plays chess. He knocks the pieces over, which is what Van Koosen's Turk did. When he'd get mad, he'd knock the pieces over. And it's a pretty fascinating story. If you do search this, it's pretty cool. If you Google the Turk, the automaton Turk, it's very interesting.
Go ahead.
I am building a Robert Houdin bakery right now as we speak. I'm about halfway through it. I just can't find the time to finish this thing, but it's a tabletop version, but it's actually smaller than the original. But it's really cool. You're going to see the baker come outside, and he'll nod, and you drop your menu, whatever pastry you want. There's going to be a menu with like 5 pastries. He'll go back in the doors, and then the lights will come on in one room, and you'll see him rolling out the rolling pin, and then he'll come out with a selected pastry from the menu.
I love it.
Yeah, mine's gonna be all. It's gonna be all electronic. The one I'm building, it's gonna be radio control, probably with a 6-channel key fob.
Well, isn't it easier to make 2 at a time?
Yeah.
How much?
That would be a good question. Yeah, I would have to agree with that because most of the builders I know do make 2 at a time, and I'm also a ventriloquist. And most of the top vent makers do make 2 heads at a time. But I have a small workshop. It's just down in my basement. I mean, I don't have anything fancy, you know, and but I'm pretty good at, I've taught myself electronics, and I'm good with woods and plastics and so forth. You know, it's just a nice release, Wes. When you're done working with a bunch of shows and you got a few days off, it's just nice to go down there and have some fun and relax, and that's basically what I do.
And, you're problem solving. You're working this stuff out and making it work, and you have a sense of accomplishment when it's over. I totally get it, man.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, but getting back to Anverdi, besides the mental die, he made the talking skull, which is all electronic. He made the floating cube, which, we'll be talking about on this little lecture that was put up by the House of the Unusual. The floating cube is a really cool effect. That was the last magic effect that he made before he passed away. He was born in 1925, and he died in 1995. So the last thing he marketed, I believe, is the floating cube. And with this, again, Will, is a cube. It's probably a little 2-inch square cube, and you drop it into a clear tube. The cube is black with white spots. Sometimes it has one spot, like it just has a blue spot all on, like on each side. Like he made them all different. But anyway, basically the theme is the same. You drop it into a clear tube and you cap each end, so it's like sealed inside, and you stand it upright, so the tube is vertical, and you just stand away from it, and the cube will start to float by itself. It'll slowly rise, and you could say stop. It'll stop about halfway. You could say go back down. It'll go down a few more inches. You could say come back up. It'll come up to the top. Then you finally take the top of the cap off, and you overturn the tube, and you could let it roll out. It'll fall into your hand. And what's neat about this is it's absolutely examinable. After you roll this thing out of the tube, you can pass the cube for examination. You can pass the tube and both caps for examination, and there's nothing to be found.
Wow. Now, is that part of the House Unusual lecture?
Yeah. When I actually demonstrate the floating cube on there, yep, that's a really, really cool effect. I believe I did the talking skull and his barking dog. Yeah, he built a barking dog, which is a cute little, it's a cute little toy like the kind they sell around Christmas time. And he's on a little platform, a little plexiglass platform. And you could have a card selected, place it back into the pack, and you shuffle the pack. And either you or the spectator can deal the cards down one at a time. And just before the one card is dealt, at some point the dog starts to bark. And so the spectator is holding one card in his hand, which he was about to do onto the pedestal. And lo and behold, that's the selected card. He turns it over. It's really amazing.
Wow. Well, how long do you think that lecture is on House of the Unusual?
I believe it's about 14, 15 minutes, somewhere around there. And we have it queued up, right? That's if you go on there, if you go on YouTube and you go under House of the Unusual and you click onto their videos, you go into Secrets Exposed, which I'm not exposing anything, but it's just like a catch thing. But it says Secrets Exposed. Chuck Caputo reveals amazing new magic line. And if you go to about 15 minutes in, 15:33 I'm on, that's the start of it. And so I have a big setup of a lot of Anverdi stuff. It took me a couple hours just to put that thing together. And so, like, if your viewers want to watch it, I tell you what, it's a really, really, really cool little video.
Well, I think we're going to watch it. Why don't we watch it here, and then we'll talk over it and talk about it, or pause it and fast forward it and play with it here.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll start at 15:33.
15:33. Let me get to it because I was
Sure.
getting out and going back. All right, let's see.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I'll turn the volume up.
Okay.
All right, here I go.
Time, Sherry. Who is Anverdi? Well, today we have Anverdi and Bizarre Magic.
Wow.
Look at this rather strange-looking
Is that
case here.
a carrying case or a close-up case? That's
I guess,
very
I
strange.
guess it is. It's starting to smoke, too. Let me reach inside. Since this is a
Pretty
bizarre
cool.
video, I have a candle. Watch.
Wow.
All right. It gets stranger. Let me reach inside here. Let's see what we have.
Okay.
I've always liked Chinese-type lanterns.
Oh,
And that's a beautiful one.
beautiful.
So is this box, is this Anverdi or is the production stuff Anverdi?
Okay?
Sounds like a plan
You know what?
to
The
me.
box I actually built.
You built that.
Yeah, you know
is
what?
bizarre.
The last 5 years or so,
Did you build that?
steampunk has taken over. I love steampunk, the theme of
You did
steampunk.
a
That's what I was going to say. It looks very steampunk. Okay.
Yep.
Now, was the candle Anverdi?
No, that I had in my collection. I did not build that. I don't remember where that came from, but that's electronic as well. You know, and there's an LED that blows in there.
All right.
And that, but that steampunk box, it fits to a lot of the shows I do because steampunk has really gotten popular in the last 5 years or so. I mean, that's a fascinating field. I've always been interested in that since it came out. I love the retro look.
Do you have the hat with the glasses and all that jazz?
Oh, it's neat. It's neat. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to push play again. Here we go.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, let me do a few things. There's a lot to tell you folks about Anverdi.
Okay.
Anverdi was a Dutch magician / inventor. He was born in 1925, died in 1995. He invented a lot of things. Now, I'm going to show you some. I can't demonstrate everything because it would be a 3-hour video. But if you hear my little friend over here, this is the talking skull. I've had this.
Coming up closer.
Sure, I've had this for over 30 years.
Aw.
If you notice, his jaw actuates, so he can find card selections. And
Wow, that's the size of a large apple. That's all it is. Really small.
Yeah,
But let me make
not
some
very
room
big,
to
yeah.
do that so you can see everything. Okay. If you're watching, I have 2 dies. One is a smaller one.
Okay, I'm coming
One
over.
is the bigger one.
Yeah, here comes the floating cube. You're gonna love
And
this.
this is the larger one. Okay. And we're gonna try and make this work in just a second. Okay.
Okay.
So are you set for the die?
Yeah, let's sit down and get this good shot.
I won't go anywhere near the die. It's in the tube right here. Okay, watch. Rise. Rise. Stop. Go back down. All the way down. Stop. Come up halfway. Terrific. Stop.
All right, because of this podcast here, electronics and stuff,
Is the end.
I have no idea with electronics to make that thing rise and lower.
I mean, it's
I
unbelievable.
mean, you
man.
could say
It really is.
thread work, sure, you can make it happen, but golly,
Yeah.
There's a picture.
And
amazing.
just keep in mind, Wes, you could dump that thing out and you can pass it for examination. That's what's mind blowing
Now, you
about
can
it.
see me demonstrate many
Oh,
things.
it's pretty mind blowing without examining it.
I'm just going through these things. You put a coin in here, you grab it, and it
Amazing
falls out.
thing.
You can't grab it. It works.
And there's his bottles, different bottles he
All
made.
right, this is the surprise box. This is a more common item where the lid closes. Okay, now this is his close-up pad. This is another spooky coin box.
That's a nice looking box.
Yes, it is. Here's a jumbo rising cards.
Ooh,
And toward the end, I'm going to step aside. You can pan all this. Okay?
I will. Okay.
Here's the spirit bell.
Sherry's a good assistant, huh? Ooh.
Ah.
So this is freehand.
Yeah, she's a great assistant. She's very animated.
Here's a poker chip.
Oh yeah, that's a nice. Yeah, that's a nice
Yeah,
effect.
this is a divination effect. A person
Yeah.
can take whatever cube they want, they close up the box, and I can tell what one was taken. It's really amazing. Here's a key box. I have several key boxes. I'm going to step over here out of the way a little bit if I can. All right, over here we have.
Man, that's a ton of stuff behind you.
And I could be
And
seen
that's
performing
probably
this.
only about maybe
Spectator
3/4
can
of what I
walk
have.
into
I
the box,
couldn't even
close
get
it
all
up.
of
I
it
can
in,
discern
you
what
know.
numbers facing up.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the original. This is the original receiver.
Oh my.
It's very, very old. It goes back to
It's complicated.
It really is. It goes back to 1976.
Yeah, that's the original die box we talked about.
All right.
That goes back to the mid-70s.
This is the deluxe version. Not many people have seen this. This is the box, and here's the nut and bolt, and this is the one with the blue ring between it.
I see.
This is so amazing. You basically encompass the blue ring. You place it in the box. You hand everything to a spectator. When they open it, the blue
That
ring
effect is called
disappears.
bolt of lightning. The nut and bolt. There's a couple.
And what happens to it?
It disappears.
It disappears. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Boy, the listeners aren't getting the full effect of this. Guys, you gotta look this up. This is pretty awesome.
Match. All right, I'll put this down.
I'm gonna come over a little bit so I can see better.
I see the
The one
dog.
with the blue ring the one with the blue ring is much more complex. The other one is a standard one where the nut will vanish and reappear. Sweating onto the bolt.
What the numbers are on.
Wow.
The same as this one here. It's
Oh, okay.
a smaller version. All right. Now here's another key box. This is a poker chip type of a magic trick. Here's the spooky hand box. I mean, it goes on and on. Trays. Oh, we have trays. These are all, some are electronic, some are not. This is
I mean, this guy invented hundreds of tricks.
switch on the back.
Yeah, he did. And he was the only one that built his magic, which is pretty amazing. I mean, there was only one guy. I mean, as far as I know, he didn't have any workers or helpers or anything.
So what about like Anverdi catalogs? Is that a thing?
Here's the glasses.
Yeah, there was. As a matter of fact, I have a couple catalogs. As a matter of fact, on this lecture, I show a few of his books that he wrote, and I actually show his catalog, which is what he mailed all around to different dealers and so forth. And
Wow.
yeah, so he did have his catalogs, and he had a couple of people that from different countries that was the major people who brought it into the country, like the importers. And one here was Jerry Castle. He started with Howie Schwartzman.
Okay. Yeah.
He was the importer here in the United States. Then later on, he switched it to Jerry Castle.
So
Both of them are deceased now.
in your show, how much is Anverdi magic? I mean, you could do a show with Anverdi, just an entire hour-long show.
Yeah, particularly close-up, I would say about 4 different things, for a close-up session. Stage, not so much, because like I said, these things do get out of tune. I don't really trust, I don't really trust a lot of the stage effects, like the rising cards, and, they have a short pickup distance as well. I mean, you're lucky to maybe get 10 feet, 12 feet, it's not reliable for actual performance, to be honest with you, So, so for stage, I don't really use a lot of the electronic stuff. I do use a few of the liquid things, these stack of ring glasses I talked about, and a couple of the bottles. Plus, I have a walking table, which is something kind of neat. It's a beautiful plexiglass table. It has a tabletop and a base, and it has rods, like see-through rods that go vertically that hold it up. And this thing will walk across the stage. It'll bring your top hat or what have you. And again, it's not really too reliable, to be honest with you. I'm kind of reluctant to replace the electronics, with modern stuff, because then it wouldn't be Anverdi. You know what I mean?
I've never heard of a walking table. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, like it has wheels inside the base, hidden wheels, and then when you hit the transmitter button, it'll actuate the wheels, and it'll actually come towards you. It'll bring a prop to you, or if you want to, like make it take a prop away from you when after you're doing maybe like card manipulations in the top hat, you could place the hat on the table and wave goodbye, and it'll take it off stage. And his genius was amazing. Murphy's Magic is currently reinventing the line. And that's another thing for your viewers to look for me. If you go to murphysmagic.com, they're reinventing the Anverdi line, and they're putting electronics that are modern into it. And so they kind of got me as their spokesperson, because I have the largest Anverdi collection in the world. So if you go to murphysmagic.com, you could see me. They actually flew up from California up here to Pittsburgh, and they got me on video. And so I talk about Anverdi. I'm asked a few questions and so forth. So it was kind of neat. They did that in 2019, prior to COVID. They asked if I could fly my stuff down, but I couldn't take that chance. For several reasons. Because if I have several big boxes of electronic stuff trying to fly it at the airport, that's a no-no. They could be confiscated. If I did mail it in advance, maybe it'll get damaged. So I couldn't take that chance. So I said, listen, if you guys come up here to Pittsburgh, I'll do it. So they did. They actually packed up their stuff and they flew up here to Pittsburgh.
Well, I turned your video down, volume down, and I was just continuing to watch as you were talking just now. And you showed the Anverdi catalogs and some pictures and things.
Right.
I'm now at 23 minutes and 7 seconds where I paused it. But, man, I tell you, I think I have one of the Anverdi catalogs. I have a huge collection of lecture notes and books and DVDs and stuff. But, yeah, I'm going to go dig out and look. Sometimes I get stuff in collections, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'll put it in the catalog section.
Hey, one quick thing, Wes. The very last
All right, where you at? What number? What?
Let's see. I'm at 2511.
All right, I'm going to 25. 25,
this
right here.
Blow your mind, man.
I'm gonna turn it up.
Okay.
Hold on. I think you're stacking the glasses at 2506.
Stack these up like so.
Hold on. Let me go back a little bit. I want to see the whole thing. I can't start in the middle of a trick.
I hope your viewers tune into this when they hear this.
All right.
I know, you got a lot.
But this is the deluxe version where he can discern the selected cards.
So the puppy is right before it.
Or placing onto the pedestal. So you can put the cards.
I believe so.
I'm at the puppy.
Yeah.
There's two different versions.
Nice.
All right, and I'm gonna show you one more quick thing. I get a little parts.
All right, so 2445. 2445 to see.
And I'm gonna make a drink.
Stack of rings.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
This is probably one of the
Check this out,
most
Nat.
amazing liquid effects by Anverdi. It's a stack of rings. And we're just gonna build these up like so.
Now, see, if I got those rings in a collection, I wouldn't know what the heck they were,
All right. Now I'm gonna stack
and they'd be thrown away because I don't know what they are.
You know what?
glass more or less.
Most people don't, Wes. The vast majority of people don't have any idea what to do or how to use it.
Up they go. I guess we got about 4 or 5 rings. This effect is called stack of ring glasses also, by the way. So we're going to put the last one up like so. All I have to do is pass my hand over and watch. It visibly
Wow.
goes with wine.
Very cool.
Hey, thanks for stopping by today. I appreciate it. I hope you've learned about the genius of Anverdi.
Wow.
Welcome, boys and girls.
That was cool, man.
Wild effect. Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
that's really neat. I like it.
Dude, that's amazing.
Look, it can't be messy. You know what? As with all liquid effects, when I'm done with that, I have to clean everything out with cold water. You know, for his Anverdi things, the bottles and all the ring glass, you don't use hot water when you clean it out because it can loosen up, the parts that are glued. So you have to use cold water. So if anybody does get an Anverdi bottle or anything, never use hot water. Never spray any kind of detergent in it or anything. Just use regular cold, soapy, like soapy water. And but yeah, that's a mind blower, man. I've been using that for over 25 years, and you could literally hear the gasps when that happens.
Now, would you say that's more parlor, not close up, though?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That would be parlor or even small stage. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do use that. And there is a little bit of a setup in there, and but it's an amazing effect. And it's the thing I want to stress with that, Wes, is there's nothing attached to me. I mean, like I can actually come out there with short sleeves and do it. I don't have any hoses going up my sleeves or anything like that. I mean, it's a self-contained unit. That's what's amazing about it. And it doesn't have to be near a table. I could be, like standing in the middle of a stage, and I could stack it up in short sleeves, and it'll still work.
I've never seen that trick ever in my life. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. So everybody needs to go to House of Unusual on YouTube and look for in their videos. I'm gonna try to find it one more time. Shoot. House of Unusual, and it says Secrets Exposed. Chuck Caputo reveals amazing new magic line. So check that out. So all that radio silence we had for past 10 minutes, you'll understand. But dude, that was awesome. That was really cool, man.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. And he did write 3 books. Well, counting his lecture notes, he has 2 lecture notes which he printed in 1964. It's volume 1 and 2. And you know what? The stuff in there is phenomenal because he also did things with scarves and rings. He used like an invisible thread. He did some great penetration. So they're all listed in there. Some very, very clever effects. So, and they're like little booklets actually. So those are still available. If you look around on used lists, they're still available. And in 1965, don't quote me on this, but he wrote a book. I'm not sure exactly how many pages, but it was called Miracles with Liquids. And so he details the trays, the different liquid effects. And in 1992,
Wow. So what about the stuff that you've created and marketed and sold? Do you still have products available that people can buy?
Yeah, you know what? I don't build the really complex stuff anymore, but for years, yeah, you know what? I'm into spooky stuff, Wes. I like to scare people, man. I don't know why, but I love spooky magic, you know. So throughout the years, I've built different types of spirit bells. I've built talking skulls, life-size ones, smaller ones, things that float, things that move, you know what, tabletop spirit cabinets. I did build about 3 or 4 spirit cabinets that were from the Tarbell books. I built the Tarbell haunted house, and I actually sold them already, but it was kind of cool. So if you look on my wife's, if you look on our YouTube channel, Sherry Caputo, you'll see me probably within the last 4 or 5 months, I built 3 of them. And I made it all electronic, where the card rises out of the chimney, the selected card rises out of the chimney. And I also have a voice module in there, so when I tap on it, like tap, 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 there's a ghost inside that taps back, and everything. And so I kind of upgraded it a little bit, where it's not just the threads and so forth. But it's all based on Tarbell. I mean, you got to give the man credit. It was all his idea. I brought it into the 21st century. So things like that. In recent times, the House Again Usual is releasing probably about 7 or 8 of effects that are, they're professional close-up effects that I've actually used in my shows throughout the years, but they're not electronic or anything. It's, they're very easy to do, and they're not expensive. I'm trying to keep it at, like as reasonable as possible. So if anybody's interested, go to houseoftheunusual.com and subscribe. It's a great place. I'm good friends with the owner, Eddie, and so he's been marketing those for me for the last month or so.
Now, does he have the talking skulls as well?
No, like I said, this is all just basic stuff. You know what? The electronic stuff, I pretty much don't build that stuff anymore. Oh, and about 8 or 9 years ago, Wes, I built a lot of flea circuses in my spare time. There was a hot time with these flea circuses, man. I sold them worldwide. You know what? I couldn't even keep up building these things. I probably sold over 150 of them.
Wow.
I can tell you, yeah, you know what? Some were electronic, some were manual, and some were combination electronic. For some reason, there was a craze about 8 years ago with flea circuses, man. People wanted to combine it with their magic shows or what have you. So I touched on a hot subject, and I tell you what, I sold a ton of them, man. All different sizes, tabletop, the big footlocker ones, and everything. And so I built all the electronics inside, all the gadgets to make the flea supposedly climb the step ladder, and he jumps into the splash pool, and a plop of water comes out. I had a ton of effects, different things, like a little bowling pins, the bowling ball would crash into the pins, and so forth.
That's amazing. Does Sherry have any of those on video?
Yeah, they're on there. If you can't find it on hers, just look under mine, Chuck Caputo, because I was originally doing my YouTube channel, Chuck Caputo, a magician, Chuck Caputo. So whatever you can't find on Sherry, go to Chuck. It's just that I was getting so many videos on there, we just figured, well, we'll open one up under Sherry's name, But I got one flea
Build a Flea Circus by Chuck Caputo. I found it. Yeah.
That was a fairly recent one. I haven't built one for a long time. This you could construct right in front of the audience. You open the box up, you put it all up, you put the props on top, and you constructed it, and yet the things move and so forth. It was a very clever idea. I sold that. I built maybe 3 or 4. I sold those almost immediately, and it's just a lot of fun. You know what? I like to tinker with things. I've always been a tinkerer. I take things apart. But I do like spooky magic. I have to admit, this is my favorite time of the year. I like to...
Me too.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? Go to the Halloween stores, man. Get some nice spooky props, and you could, if you're into electronics even remotely, you could dissect these things and put a receiver in there and make them work with a little key fob. You don't even have to touch anything. There's a lot of potential.
I got little babies, 11 months old now, and I imagine I could freak them out with a talking skull. Get them a year and a half. What are you doing out of bed? Go back to bed.
You guys must be a lot younger than me, because I'll tell you what, we've been married. It'll be going on 30 years coming up in May.
Wow.
And the older son Michael's getting married this month, September 25th.
Hey.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's our boy's
29,
birthday. Very cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, you know what? So we're excited about that and everything. And They asked me, do I want to do some close-up magic at the reception? I said, no. I just want to sit and relax and take it easy. I don't want to.
Right. Enjoy yourself.
Or you could have something really cool happen, like all the candles light or blow out when you do a toast. Or
Yeah. That would be very
cool.
cool.
About it. That's the thing about it, Wes. I mean, yourself. If you go to a family reunion or something, they say, "Hey, come here, do some magic." It's like you can't relax. It's
no,
like, oh,
yeah, you're on.
I just want to.
You're on. You're in performance mode.
Props in my pocket 24 hours a day. It's just I want to sit and relax with family stuff, right?
Right. Yep. I get that. Definitely.
And but but thankfully I've been busy all these years. It's been a lot of fun. You know what I mean? And you know what? And I still play around, and I try to revamp older effects too. Like you'd be surprised what you can get on the market. The work by threads and so forth, and you can change it around. You can put a servo in there to pull something, or you can put a motor. Look like a little DC motor. Like a low RPM one. You could make it pull the thread or what have you. So there's a lot of possibilities where you can modernize things. You know what I mean? And it saved me a ton of money because I do this stuff myself. I mean, like if I didn't know all this stuff, I'd have to buy these things, and it could get expensive. You know that?
Oh yeah. So as far as people booking you for shows, what kind of shows do you do, and do you have a website people can find you besides the YouTube stuff?
Yeah, you know what? I'm on a few different websites. Just I only go through the tri-state area. I'm in Pittsburgh. I cut it down. I'm not as young as I used to be. So I go to the tri-state area. I go through Pennsylvania, most parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. So if anybody's interested, just Google Magician Chuck Caputo. It'll take you right to my web pages. And you know what? But I don't travel really past the tri-state area. Back when I was younger, I would. I would do certain companies and so forth, but I just cut it down. I don't feel like traveling. When you get my age, Wes, you kind of slow down a little bit. I know it's hard to believe, but I can only drive probably 2 hours. 2 hours tops. It's like forget it, and I don't feel like doing it anymore. We went to the Abbott's Get Together 2 summers ago. That was pretty cool. I always wanted to do it, so I told my wife, let's do it. So we did. It was such a blast. I mean, I'd highly recommend going to conventions. Anybody out there, whatever state or country you're in, go to your conventions, go to your local chapters, whether it's the IBM, SAMs, But we stopped in. We had a blast at the Abbott's Get Together, and what was cool, for what it's worth, people did recognize me. They said, "Wow, we watch your videos, man."
Oh, that's great.
That was kind of neat. I was
great.
very humbled by that experience. It was really cool.
Cool, man. So, Facebook, can people find you on Facebook?
Just search Chuck Caputo on Facebook. I don't really talk about magic too much. I put funny little things on there, and stuff, and family photos and everything. I got photos of my mom and dad when they were younger, and so forth, like a throwback Thursday. But I don't really talk about magic too much on there. You know what I mean? It's just like funny little things. I try to keep it light, but. But if someone wants to contact me, just Google Chuck Caputo. What's kind of weird is I get emails almost daily. There was a guy today who was asking me about a jumbo rising cards, like what would it be worth and so forth. And there's people to contact me, Wes, where they have the plastic stuff, just like you're talking about. They have the rings that was in a collection they bought, and they say, I think this might be Anverdi. What is it?
Right.
So I tell them, take a few pictures, get it as close as you can, and just send it to me, and I'll examine it, as best I can. And so you'd be surprised the people that contact me, or a prop isn't working. I don't generally like to take people's props and try and fix it because I don't want to, God forbid, break it or make it worse. But I instruct them how to sand the terminals, and 9 out of 10 times things need cleaned up a bit. It might not be working because the terminals are corroded. One more tip for anybody out there who has any electronic stuff, if it's Anverdi, if it's anything, never store it with batteries. When you're done using it, take the batteries out. Always. Never, ever store anything with batteries because they will leak.
I've done that mistake so many times, just with Halloween props and with magic.
Yeah, exactly. Pop those batteries out, man. One guy I knew in Pittsburgh, he passed away, and they had willed me
Oh.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I had to take the whole thing apart. It was just, take batteries out. I don't care what you're using. Get them out if you're not using it.
Well, Chuck, thank you so much for doing this tonight, man. We're running out of time.
Hey, it was a pleasure. It was great talking to you guys. I'm very impressed with you. I saw you on Penn and Teller, and I'm going to spread your website around. And will this podcast go on your website then? I can tell people about it? Or
I'm going to send you everything as soon as we hang up the phone here. I'm going to tell you all the details. So it'll go out next Wednesday at 3 p.m., but we'll get to all that. Hey, thank you so much, guys. It's check him out, Chuck Caputo, and that's Chuck, and his last name is Caputo. And just search for him on YouTube or Sherry Caputo on YouTube, and check out all those videos. He's got hundreds of videos out there, and it shows all this electronic cool stuff. So awesome. Thank you so much for doing this tonight, man. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was great talking to both of you.
Hey, stay on the line. I'm going to do a couple plugs real quick, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Okay.
All right, perfect. We are so happy to announce that our new show merchandise is available at wesisley.com. That's logo t-shirts, my TV podcast t-shirts, Magic Man hats, stickers, playing cards, and more. Check it all out at wesisley.com. And Season 2 of Wes Iseley's Magiclife, the TV show, is now over, but you can still binge watch all of Season 1 and 2 on Jewel TV. Jewel TV is on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, the Jewel TV app, and tons of other places. It's in over 100 million households. All you have to do is look for it. See you next week. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Express Copy and Graphics. Mention promo code Wes Iseli to get 10% off. Their website is expresscopy.com. That's XPRESS-COPY.com. They do it all. Copies, banners, signs, vehicle wraps, promo items, practically anything you need printed, they can do it for you. These guys are great. Check them out. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.